Hello everyone, welcome to CNA, the daily newspaper analysis. So today we are back with the following list of contents to discuss. So let's start. The first topic says about the Election Commission starts the limitation of Assam constituencies. So we could see that the Election Commission of India recently started the delimitation and the re-exercise of categorizing the respective constituencies for assembly as well as parliamentary constituencies in Assam using the census figure of 2001. बहुत important है, ठीक है? So we have seen that the last delimitation of the constituencies in Assam was done on the basis of the census of figures 1971 by then Delimitation Commission 1976. So what is this delimitation? We could see that delimitation is an act of redrawing boundaries of an assembly or Lok Sabha seat to represent changes in population over time. So this exercise is carried out by a delimitation commission whose order have the force of law and cannot be questioned before any court. So why it is needed? So the objective is to redraw the boundaries based on the data of the last census in a way so that the population of all seats as far as practicable be the same throughout the state. Aside from changing the limits of the constituencies, the process may result in a change in the number of seats in a state. So how is the delimitation carried out? So delimitation is carried out by an independent delimitation commission, and under Article 82 of the Parliament enacts a delimitation act after every census. Once the act is in force, the union government sets up a delimitation commission made up of a retired Supreme Court judge, chief election commissioner, and the respective state election commissioners. So today, the commission is supposed to determine the number of the boundaries of the constituencies in a way that the population of all seats, so far as practicable, is the same. And the commission is also tasked with identifying seats reserved for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. And these are where the population is relatively large. So therefore, today we could see that Assam, since we could see that recently the changes is a time of today, because we can see that the next elections basically is coming around in 2024, and before that the delimitation of the parliamentary constituencies is very much of urgent, because we could see that today the delimitation is therefore not proper and people does not got well representation in some of the areas where majority as well as the minorities often clashes just because of the interest that they put forward during an election campaign. Okay, so therefore today we could see that this delimitation is directly coming up so that we could see about that यहाँ पे पूरा जो हम लोग का constituencies का जो areas है वो सब बदल जाएंगे. Okay, तो अभी देखते हैं in the future कैसे हम लोग delimitate करते हैं. ठीक है, चलो next पे आते हैं. Tourism Council. So in this Tourism Council, it has been said about that recently the parliamentary panel or the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Transport, Tourism and Culture has urged the government to set up a National Tourism Council on the lines of the GST Council to make recommendations directly to the union and the state government. So the committee also asked about the steps taken by the Tourism Ministry with respect to its earlier recommendation of adding tourism to the concurrent list under the 7th schedule of the Constitution. Okay, so according to this committee, the inclusion of tourism in the concurrent list will help address the challenges posed by the pandemic to the tourism sector, since tourism is a multi-sectoral activity. At present, we could see only 8 states, namely Karnataka, Kerala, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Punjab, Rajasthan, and Uttarakhand have accorded industry status to hospitality projects. ओके, सो इसी बेसिस पे आज हम लोग सोच रहे हैं कि ये टूरिज्म काउंसिल एक बना देते हैं सो दैट वी कुड सी दैट देयर आर वेरियस नंबर ऑफ अट्रैक्शंस टुडे इन आवर कंट्री व्हिच नीड्स टू बी कंक्लूडेड अंडर अ मेजर सर्किट सो दैट पीपल कुड अवेल द टूरिज्म फैसिलिटीज इन देयर ओन कंट्री. तो इसी के बेसिस पे यहाँ पे पार्लियामेंट्री स्टैंडिंग कमेटी ने रेकमेंड किया है गवर्नमेंट को टू सेट अप अ नेशनल टूरिज्म काउंसिल सो दैट इट कुड टेक स्टेप्स बाय so that it could take steps to increase the tourism sector after the pandemic and above the challenges today the tourism sector is basically facing. Okay, तो इसी के बेसिस पे ये न्यूज में थे. ठीक है, चलो नेक्स्ट आते हैं ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन. So green hydrogen may get $2 billion incentive. So in order to cut emissions and become a major export player, India is planning a $2 billion incentive program for the green hydrogen industry. And the key aim of this incentive program would be to reduce the production of the cost of green hydrogen by over 20% in the next 5 years. Hydrogen, which can be used as a fuel, is produced by splitting water with an electrical process called electrolysis. And if the electrolyzers used in the process are fueled by renewable energy, the product is called green hydrogen, as the fuel produced would be free of greenhouse emissions. So at present, it costs around rupees 300 to 400 per kg to produce green hydrogen in India. तो इसी के बेसिस पे हम लोग सोच रहे हैं कि कैसे हम लोग ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन को प्रमोट करें, और इसी बेसिस के लिए हम लोग एक $2 बिलियन इंसेंटिव का एक इंडस्ट्री सेटअप करने के लिए यहाँ पे हम लोग तैयार हो रहे हैं. ठीक है, तो इसी बेसिस पे $2 बिलियन इंडिया रुपीज वैल्यूज में इट इज अराउंड 180 बिलियन रुपीज. ओके, तो ये हम लोग का ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन था, उसी के बेसिस में हम लोग यहाँ पे खर्च करने वाले हैं $180 बिलियन इंसेंटिव्स. ओके, चलो नेक्स्ट पे आते हैं. एयरबैग इंडस्ट्री इन इंडिया. सो रिसेंटली यहाँ पे बताया गया है कि लाइक जो एयरबैग इंडस्ट्री है, इसका जो ग्रोथ है ये 7,000 करोड़ तक बन जाएगा. कब तक? फाइनेंशियल ईयर 2027 तक. ठीक है, सो देयरफॉर इट हैज बीन रिसेंटली सेड बाय द ICRA. तो व्हाट इज दिस एयरबैग? So airbags is a vehicle occupant resistant system using a bag designed to inflate extremely quickly and then quickly deflate during a collision. So it consists of the airbag cushion, a flexible fabric bag, and an inflation module and an impact sensor. So the purpose of the airbag is to provide a vehicle occupant with a soft cushioning and restraint during a collision. So it can reduce injuries between the flailing occupant as well as the interior of the vehicle. So we could see that on 5th March 2021, the Indian Ministry of Road Transport and Highways mandated that all new vehicle models introduced in India after 1st April 2021 have dual front airbags, and the regulation also requires that all existing models be equipped with dual front airbags by 31st August 2021. लेकिन recently यहाँ पे गवर्नमेंट ने इतना भी बोला है कि every car should have got 6 airbags. Okay, so आज ये जो airbags है, ये airbags, the chemical at the heart of the airbag reaction is called sodium azide. बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, याद रखना, सोडियम एजाइड. ओके, और इसका फॉर्मूला क्या है? केमिकल फॉर्मूला NaN3. ओके, सो ये उनका है. अंडर नॉर्मल सर्कमस्टांसेस दिस मॉलिक्यूल इज क्वाइट स्टेबल, एंड इफ हिटेड though it will fall apart. Okay, so therefore we could see that the chemical equation over here is basically going with 2NaN3 will be giving 2Na plus 3Na2. Okay, 3N2. Okay, so that describes how it falls apart. Okay, so this sodium is a very reactive metal that we all know, and it will react rapidly with water to form sodium hydroxide. And as a result, it would be quite harmful if it got into your eyes, nose, or mouth. So to minimize the danger of exposure, airbag manufacturers mix the sodium azide with other chemicals so that it will react with the sodium and in turn make less toxic compounds. Okay, so therefore अभी यहाँ पे देख सकते हो कि कैसे हम लोग अभी एक फर्दर हम लोग इस एयरबैग इंडस्ट्री को और बढ़ाएंगे, क्योंकि अभी फिलहाल हम लोग का एक गोल भी है कि through the Brasilia Declaration, countries plan to achieve the Sustainable Development Goal 3.6, which says about that we should reduce the number of global deaths and injuries from road traffic accidents. Okay, so therefore today every number of country is directly going ahead with making the cars loaded with this airbags, and basically this 2 should be uplifted to 6. तो ये हम लोग का recently सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने भी बताया गया था. ठीक है, तो इसी के बेसिस पे यहाँ पे हम लोग बहुत बड़ा इंडस्ट्री एक फॉर्म होगा. ओके, क्योंकि आजकल का कार मैन्युफैक्चरिंग बढ़ता जा रहा है, लोगों का डिमांड बढ़ता जा रहा है कर के प्रति. तो यहाँ पे जो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग होंगे इस एयरबैग्स का, इन ये मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इंडस्ट्रीज भी बहुत ज्यादा ग्रो करेंगे बाय द टाइम ऑफ 2027. तो इसी के बेसिस पे ये न्यूज थे. ओके, चलो लास्ट पे आते हैं एडिटोरियल में, रिटेलिंग ऑफ इंडियन माइग्रेंट वर्कर्स फ्लाइट. तो यहाँ पे क्या बताया गया है? इट इज सेइंग अबाउट the International Migrant Day, which is observed annually on December 18. ठीक है, December 18 में क्या फॉलो होता है हम लोग का? हम लोग क्या पालते हैं? International Migrants Day. Okay, so the factors which have resulted in this large-scale migration in the past few years are this COVID-19 pandemic, Taliban takeover of Afghanistan, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, worsening poverty in the sub-Saharan region, and also climate change. So as per the World Migration Report of 2022, The International Organization of Migration has approximately said that 281 million international migrants globally was migrating in 2022, which is around two-thirds being labor migrants. And there were around 169 million labor migrants in 2019 and 164 around 2020. So the share of South Asia of this migrants is around 40%. And moreover, the South Asia Gulf Migratory Corridor is the world's largest migrant corridor. And the long-term data analysis has shown that the migration is not uniform across the world. It is shaped by economic, geographic, and demographic factors that resulted in distinct migration patterns. So it was reported that as a consequence of the post-pandemic job search, around 300 Indian engineers from Tamil Nadu were trafficked to Myanmar to work for crypto scam, and about 20 Indian nurses were trafficked to UAE for fake job offers. So Kerala government data showed that 1.7 million people returned from abroad during the pandemic, that is from June 2020 to June 2021, and 1.5 million suffered job losses. So as per a document tabled in the winter session of the parliament, about 9 million Indian migrants are working in the Gulf Cooperation Council of the Arabian states. So what are the associated concerns? See, it is argued that though India is the largest source of migrants and remittance receiving country, the welfare of the Indian migrants abroad is hardly prioritized by the policymakers. It is also seen that as a matter of serious concern that India lacks a tangible and comprehensive migration policy to ensure the safe movement of these migrants and also decent living. So India still governs international migration through the 4 decades old Immigration Act of 1983. ये बहुत पुराना एक्ट है, ठीक है. इसको हम लोग को बदलाना चाहिए as soon as possible so that we could make some of the way forward for our international migration policies. So the situation in many GCC countries is worrisome. For instance, the existing exploitative nature of the kafala system has resulted in the March retrenchment of the labor force. So what is this kafala system? It is described as a sponsorship system that regulates the relationship between employees and the migrant workers. Okay, so the COVID-19 has increased the case of unemployment, and various other recurring issues faced by migrant laborers are irregular payments, poor working conditions, negotiation of labor rights, and also inaccessibility to transparent judicial system. So today, various number of countries has come up to go for some of the initiatives to control such number of migrants, be it Philippines, be it some of the countries even like India. So what can be the way forward over here? See, it should be noted that the Indian nurses and caregivers have been working in the most volatile and remote countries like Iraq, Syria, Libya, Yemen, Israel, and Papua New Guinea. And moreover, the women migrant workforce is largely limited to GCC countries. So Indian government should thus comprehensively assess the situation of migrant women and create women-centric right-based policies. So the government should revisit its policies in the context of the post-pandemic scenario by engaging all stakeholders and passing the Immigration Bill 2021, which is basically lapsed in the Lok Sabha. So the policy should be aligned with the United Nations Global Compact for safe, orderly migration and regular migration. Okay, so therefore, when we see about the COVID-19 pandemic, which has not only impacted global migration pattern, but also exposed the untold vulnerabilities and miseries of the international migrant labor. So it is in India's interest that it should revisit the existing policies and devise a new migration policy covering all aspects of the present scenario. तो उसी के बेसिस पे यहाँ पे दो writers, be it Women and Kuttapan, they have said about the documented evidence. Through some of the documented evidence, they have directly laid down about what are the possible concerns today this migrant population from this country is basically facing, and the worst sufferers being the women migrants. Okay, तो उसी के basis पे ये discussion था. So we are end of this today's discussion. So we have this 5 number of MCQs. Please do attempt these MCQs and do join our Telegram as well as WhatsApp channel for further updates. That's all for today. Thank you and Jai Hind.